We're going to take a look at structure. That's how we build up our coaching sessions. Our coaching sessions need just the right amount of structure. Too much, and we end up sticking rigidly to a plan instead of responding to the paddler in front of us. Too little, and we end up with a woolly, rambling session which doesn't actually achieve anything. So we need structure, but we also need flexibility. If we already know what information we're trying to get into the paddler, we might use the ideas structure. That's introduction. Here's what we're actually trying to do. If this bit takes more than a few sentences, we're probably overdoing it. Demonstration. Here's a picture of the thing. If it's a new thing, we'll probably show the whole lot in context at real speed a few times from a few different angles. Explanation. Here are a small number of key points. If it's a new thing, we want to take care not to overwhelm people with information. This additional info could fit after the demo, potentially it could go before the demo. Activity. Now we need them to actually give it a go, to try and convert all that information into a new movement. We might choose to provide some feedback based on what we see. We might set a task where the task itself gives them that feedback. Once they've got something that works, we'll make the activity a bit harder, but if they're not getting it, we'll make the activity a bit easier. This activity section is usually by far the longest part of a coaching session. And then finally, a summary. We could summarise a few key points, or we could ask our paddlers to do it. Using ideas might be the right thing to do if we're introducing a new skill, or if we know that we're planning to operate at that coach knows best end of the spectrum. If we're coaching something that the paddler can already do, or we're working out what we need to coach, then we need to know where the learner's at before we can start our coaching. One structure we could use here is WASP. That's watch. So that might be as simple as just watch them whilst they paddle and warm up. Or we might set some tasks to see some specific techniques, or even to put those techniques under a bit of pressure and see where they break. Time spent here is generally time spent well. Analyse. It's really easy as a coach to jump to conclusions. That little wobble they had when they tried to put their boat on an edge, is that actually because they struggled to keep the boat under control? Or is it a problem with their posture? Is it a problem with the way their boat's set up, their strength, their mobility? Or actually was it just a one-off wobble because they've not been on the water a few weeks and it's never going to happen again and we don't need to do anything about it? Generally, it's a much better idea to hold off coaching to stay watching and analysing until you've got a few decent ideas about where you might take the session. As soon as I start coaching, they're no longer doing what they normally do, paddling the way they normally paddle. So once I've got a good idea what we're going to work on, we need to set some goals. What are we actually trying to change in the session and how are we going to do it? That might be purely the coach's decision, or that decision might be shared with the learner. If it's some new information that they need, we might choose to run a short ideas session at this point. And then practice, the meat of the session. We can get on with the session. You can see that here, with a WASP structure, we cannot have a totally predefined plan. The session goals and how the learner and the coach are going to work towards them come out of that watching and that analysis. We can certainly plan a few tasks to allow us to do the watching and the analysis, tasks to allow us to observe and challenge a skill. We can plan for a few of the common problems that we like to see and what tasks we might set to fix them. But what we can't do here is have a simple, linear script to follow.